Good morning. It's Wednesday, April the 1st, so we'll see what this month brings. I hope we get through it better than it started. This is week 10, and this week we're looking at some things related to personality and identity in sport. And this is one of my favorite topics. Basically it's about how we can let the idea of being an athlete really take over some significant space in our own identities, how we conceptualize our sense of self. We have a reading titled "Working Out Identity," and this is a really great article that speaks to me. Because it looks at runners. Those are the subjects, and runners who are injured. And I've been injured many times throughout my life as an athlete, and maintaining that sense of identity as an athlete has really helped me to stay focused and kind of maintain patience through it, and just kind of psychologically and for my own well-being helps me get through, and helps me also stick to my rehab plan and stay in somewhat of shape as an athlete. So, I just talked about running an injury, and that's what your article is about. But right now, we're dealing with the cancellation of high school and college athletic seasons. And fortunately, the NCAA voted yesterday to extend eligibility so that athletes don't just lose that season. And the Olympics finally set a hard date for the Olympics. It's just a 1 year postponement. So at least now athletes kind of have a plan, something that they can focus on and set a target towards, to plan for the future, to plan forward and plan their workouts and their training plans. So, that'll help. But, before that, when the primary role of a high school athlete or a college athlete or an Olympian is to be an athlete, what happens when all of a sudden that's not available? That role is suddenly gone. We experience some identity loss, and one of the things that we're looking at this week is the vulnerability to psychological distress when all of a sudden that kind of primary conceptualization of ourselves as an athlete is disrupted. And this is very common. So right now we're in a special situation, but this idea of athletic identity disruption very commonly occurs when high school sports or college sports are over. That's kind of why senior day is special and sad for a lot of athletes. I think I remember crying pretty hard during mine. Another common athletic identity disruptor is injury. Most athletes will be injured at one point or another in their athletic careers. So that's another, right now we're in a special situation, but athletic identity disruption also has some very common ways of happening. So back to your reading, it looks at some very specific techniques that runners use to try to maintain their identity as an athlete when they're injured. So things like wearing their gear, wearing your Nike gear or your running shoes or whatever it is, even though they're not using it for running. Also continuing to use and speak the language of running. Talking to your running friends and still talking about the same things that you would always talk about, and using the same language that you would use. So it helps to maintain kind of a continuity of what you're used to for yourself. So I think it's an interesting article, and it's asking you to explain, to contemplate the extent to which you incorporate the context of athlete into your own identity. I may be a daughter or a sister or a wife or a mother or an employee or an Arkansan or an American. All of those things help shape my sense of self. But I also consider myself an athlete, and that is also very important to me. It dictates who my friends are and what I do in my free time and how I eat, and when I get up in the morning. So all of those things shape my sense of self. When I'm injured, I find it necessary to use some of those techniques mentioned in that article to help me retain that aspect of myself and my sense of self. So, again, this article uses runners, recreational, maybe a little bit better than recreational, maybe kind of competitive runners as their subjects. But as you read this, you can certainly apply these ideas about helping maintain athletic identity to any sport, and a lot of what we're seeing right now. And for many of you, it's college athletics. For some of you, it's high school athletics. Some of you that work in high schools, and we can all see it on a very large scale with things like the NCAA and now the Olympics, which has a new plan in place. So, just some thoughts with a very relevant situation right now. So have a good week, and we'll hang in there. And here's hoping that that April brings some some positive progress in where we're going. So thanks for sticking with me. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you soon.